It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! It's Feedback Friday. Hello. Sorry about the darkness. It's very late at night. It was a very busy day. Did Twitch, then went downtown yesterday because construction is insane. And then I did my Counterpoint gig on talk radio. Then came back and I'm recording this now very late. Very late. It's midnight. It's close to midnight. Oh, it's not PC to sing Michael Jackson anymore. Okay. So, first thing, every single video I did this week, every single one got demonetized. So apparently YouTube advertisers hate facts. They don't want their commercials attached to facts because it was upheld by manual review. Nope. Facts, solid science is not okay according to the advertisers of YouTube. So help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, so I can continue to stand up for video games outside of Boss Fight, which the voting is done. Except for the t-shirt designs. And then it's going to go to the writers. So it's not quite done. It closes today. So those of you at the voting tier, get your votes in. Get it in. Because soon. But then it's going to go to the writers to do the backstories and we're off to the races. But regarding your comments, this is one of those things where I was like, yeah, my audience knows video games don't cause violence. I also think it's important that you guys see somebody with a platform standing up for video games and gamers in the face of this rampant disinformation. My favorite comment on the first video was one person said, James Carmichael says, we need to stop farming simulator games from influencing young people to become hard workers. This epidemic is unconscionable. I thought that was funny because it just sort of encapsulates the issues there. Another commenter, Bryant Mitchell, says the average gamer is a lot older than what many politicians think they are, but hey, they're just playing to their base. And then only one Wi-Fi responds, I agree, but then how old is their base? And Win the Rogue says, I'd have to guess 50 and up, who still watch TV and in turn still gives views to Fox News, who's been notorious for fear-mongering, spinning stories to fit their propaganda, and blaming video games for everything despite studies proving games don't cause violence. And I want to reiterate how hard it is to get a study to actually prove a non-event. The fact that researchers had to prove video games did not cause violence instead of just failing to find a link before this would go away put undue burdens on the scientific community in this regard, but that's how bad the stigma, that's how bad the misinformation is on this point. So moving on to the Trump stance, there were a lot of good points for and against the question I posed of will Trump's stance on video games hurt his reelection? This was one of these things where it was just kind of thinky, and there were a lot of good comments for and against. You know, the argument that it's too early, that he will have done like so many other crazy things by the time the election comes rolling around, but it'll seem like, as Martin Steinpat said, it'll seem like it's from 1619 by the time we get to 2020. But that's where the dialogue started. And this is where I said there's a lot of good points for and against. Because it's like, okay, fair. But then, you know, Duncan MacLeod responds, you never know what little thing might really tick off certain groups of right-leaning independent voters about a person and get them to question their allegiance. It's never mainstream talking points from either major party, but betraying the basic libertarian ideals some of them tell themselves that they adhere to in a way that's really obvious and personal. That is, attacking a favorite hobby can really make people stop and think for a moment. I've seen it happen with Trumpers before, and in Michigan specifically. I've seen them turn on Trump and on Q. There you go. You know who they're talking about here. For letting it slip that the president isn't nearly as in touch with them as they think. Seeing him up on the TV saying stuff they've despised politicians in general for in the past might be enough of a jolt to break the projection of their own values onto him. And then Martin responds, true, that could very well happen. My dad still reminds me of a couple of promises the 90s politicians have broken. Then again, Trump might do a 180 because he changes his mind all the time. The Democrats might even say something more stupid and the voters will turn away from them. 2020 will really be a race to the bottom. See, I would have said, hey, Trump might change his mind too, except he's done this before. He did this after Parkland as well. So this is now a pattern. And once he digs in on something, he doesn't change his mind. Now, then other people said both the left and the right demonize video games. And sure enough, the next week's video, I had to do an entire week on the lack of a link between video games and violence. But I want to be clear. I don't want to pull a both sides thing on this because the extent of the dumb on the left was far more in the op-ed fringes. This did not come from the Democratic Party on the left. Most of the people campaigning for the Democrats are young and informed enough to know that video games do not cause violence. I would have liked to see Joe Biden say more emphatically, just to get away from some of the stuff he did circa 2011, 2012 on this issue, because he did kind of drink the Kool-Aid, as Cory Booker would said, without knowing what flavor it was back then. And, you know, as the previous commenter said, voters do have long memories about this stuff. I mean, I brought up again Hillary Clinton and Joe Lieberman with the, all they did was make it illegal to sell violent games to minors. And that was enough to put people off Clinton's run for president, among other things. Voters have long memories on certain things and very short memories on others. And as I think the previous commenter said, it's those quirky personal things that stick in people's craws, which is why I have no idea why Slate and Mother Jones decided to interrupt the Republicans while they were making a mistake, but they did. You know, they did. That was an unforced error. The left is prone to them. And that's why, despite, you know, the general population becoming increasingly left-leaning, that's not accurate. The right just shifts further rightward. They're moving the center, and so people feel more left-wing. But while their policies line up, they don't like the tone of the left. They don't like the finger wagging and the nagging and the ridiculousness and the identity politics of singling out gamers as some sort of uniquely dangerous group. It's ridiculous. And as Rocksterp, love the name, Rocksterp said, the fact that society is demonizing escapism of young men will only make the problem worse. I know it's anecdotal, but I can't count the times I released my anger on fighting games or God of War back in my school days. And Nero Burn said, I've learned from my own family, I won't share, you can look up if you want, that abusers absolutely hate any form of escapism because it gives their victims a way to escape their abuse, even if for a few hours. That was deeply personal, but I like it when people share this stuff because often deeply personal stuff is really true. And Neo Burns said people need to stop. That horse didn't consent to any of this, and that was funny. I think, quite frankly, to say more on this whole Gamergate topic, I think the public in general is just, as Sean Rooney said, tired of seeing people endlessly dig up the Gamergate thing over and over. He says, it's like an extended exercise in sadonekrobestiality, which meant flogging a dead horse. The word of the week is sadonekrobestiality. Yeah, that is the sense I get as well, that the general public is tired of hearing about it. Some people really got a sense of identity from covering that tempest in a teapot, or tempest in a chamber pot, depending on your metaphor. And they can't let it go. But I really think that it's incredibly ineffective with the general population people don't care. A lot of people didn't hear about it very much, and most people have the good sense to know that it's interesting because I did a podcast for the FU network. It's called the No Bull Zone or something like that. I should have paid attention to that. But the No BS Zone, it'll be up. I'll post a link when it's up. But even a woman who used to cover esports, who had sort of the sort of language, dropping the word toxic and things like that, even she said it's very hard to separate what is actually from a gamer and what is just from a troll, because it's just easy to troll. And I thought, like, okay, even that's permeating into the people who are, more bought into the toxic gaming community narrative than I am. Recognize this. Now, this doesn't mean we shouldn't be vigilant about people giving gamers a bad name. Troll's gonna troll though, right? I like solutions. I like to post solutions. And so this is where I'm going to go with this Feedback Friday. You can't stop trolls. You can't. The more you fight them, the more light and air you give them. It's giving them attention. It encourages them. Fighting with them, denouncing them, calling them out, that's lulls for trolls. All you can do is add positive experiences to the potentially negative ones. Like the game companies, they have to figure out how to better monitor their communities and get their communities self-monitoring in a more positive way. I'm deliberately not using the word self-policing because I think that's got negative connotations that take away from fun. People don't like feeling like they're being watched by Big Brother. Or big sibling, will be gender neutral, while they're trying to have cathartic fun. But like just this community alone, we've shown that on a smaller scale, things don't have to be a constant dumpster fire. So it is possible. And I think it all is about setting the example. If you come onto Twitch, the people who participate in the Twitch chat are so great. Every time somebody comes on and I had a bad day or I'm really tired, everybody's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And there's like, virtual hugs going around and all that stuff. And it's a very sort of cool community that way. And that is gaming to me. But I really do think that you get out of gaming what you put in. And, because I'm here being positive, even when I'm pissed off about something, I try to find a way to laugh at it. That comes back, right? That comes back. And I have to wonder, these people who keep writing these negative op-eds and talking about like the harassment problem, it is very possibly because they're putting out negativity, that they're receiving so much negativity. And so the best thing we gamers can do regarding getting more people of all kinds playing games and staying with games is to give them positive experiences alongside potentially negative experiences by being friendly, by giving them little tips, by sharing in a positive way, our love of gaming. And, I think it's kind of cool to be on Twitch and showing these games from like they're as old as some people who are watching them. And it's cool with the sanitarium stuff that some people are like, oh, this is on iOS and Android. I might check this game out because it's so cool to see people much younger than me. Not everybody's much younger than me there, but a lot of people are younger than me, just enthralled by this game with graphics that are very Uncanny Valley. It's that Uncanny Valley adventure game from the 1990s look, but they make it work because it's creepy and they run with that. But it's a really cool experience. And again, I'm not going, oh, I'm the best player. I'm just sharing a lesser known genre of games that I really enjoy. They brought me a lot of joy when I was younger. I can laugh at the parts of it that are awful. King's Quest V was a ton of fun, but it all comes with, hey, I'm showing you guys something that's cool. And the nice thing about Sanitarium is it was nominated by a patron. By a patron who also watches the Twitch streams. And that was super cool. because, you know, if one person is interested in something, a lot of other people are interested. I'm trying to find a used copy of The Darkness, because I think permanently lent my copy of The Darkness to somebody. I'm trying to find an old copy because apparently it's backwards compatible on Xbox One. That's one I'd love to share. So I'm trying to track down a reasonably priced used copy in Canada to do that. The Monkey Island games are on the short list. I've got the list somewhere here, but it's working really well with people nominating games. Some of them are kind of abandoned where they don't work on Windows 10 quite well, so we're still working that out. But yeah, it's been really cool. And I mean, those experiences in like smaller groups, not just matchmaking on Xbox Live, I think that's what's going to bring us through this stigma and get people to recognize that there's more to gaming than the bad PR. And we can't do anything about the people that are going to just cover the bad. And there are some people that think they're being a better journalist by only covering the bad. I don't think so. That has never been my take on journalism or even documentary, because then you're skewing it. If you're not showing the bad and the good in appropriate proportions, you're not producing a documentary. You're not producing fact-based programming. You're producing propaganda. And this is why I was really careful doing Boss Fight. They really have to be myths. Like, I don't want to evangelize. I don't want to, well, maybe it's the good kind of evangelism, but, you know, I don't want to use propaganda either. The facts are on our side. And so my job is just to make the facts fun and let things go that way. It's not that hard, really. I mean, the content for Boss Fight is much easier than Lady Bits because there's just so many more known knowns on a lot of this stuff. Even the research into sexism in gaming is farther along than 2 years ago when I started Lady Bits. It's kind of crazy that it's been that long, but 2 years in research in these fields does a lot. And so look for that podcast when I post it. You know, check out some other stuff I post in the coming days. Join us on Twitch for new games. And hopefully next week I'll be able to talk about a topic that isn't about what video games don't do and about all the cool, super awesome stuff that video games do. 'Cause that's cool. Yeah, thanks for watching. Once again, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, because YouTube keeps demonetizing my fact-based comment because apparently it frightens advertisers. Thanks for watching.